Good, start recording. Thank you. So we always like to start our meeting reading the mission. So I usually don't like to read slides, but this one is important to note and for us to remember. So the Fairfax County NAACP is a nonpartisan nonprofit organization whose mission is to achieve equity, political rights, and social inclusion by advancing policies and practices that expand human and civil rights, eliminate discrimination, and accelerate the well-being, educational, and economic security of Black people and all people of color. Next up is our prayer and inspiration with Eliza Slander tonight. Eliza, I'll turn it over to you and I'll stop sharing.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I am just going to share a photo really quick and let me know if you recognize it. I'm sure people here will. This photo has special meaning today. Who recognizes who this person is? Or remember or knows what's happening here? This is Bree Newsome, who after on June 17th, 2015, 9 churchgoers were murdered by a white supremacist, and there followed in South Carolina, there was a lot of debate over the flag and the symbol of what it meant. And a group of people who had been working for equality and justice got together and decided it was time for the flag to come down. And they decided specifically that it would be a Black woman who would bring it down, and that a white man would stand at the bottom with his hand on the pole to represent the unity in the cause. And she called out that in the name of God, she was taking this flag down. And it's a really powerful, you can, if you want to Google the video, you can see it. And then I also just quickly wanted to share in remembrance of these 9 believers, and just wanted to have a moment to remember them and the legacy that they left, and the legacy that Bree Newsome and the people who worked with her. And then one last thing I just wanted to share for you to consider is this racial reconciliation lessons that we're working on as part of the Religious Affairs Committee, to consider what role you find yourself in your day-to-day actions. Advocate, helper, organizer, rebel. These are all, depending on personality and depending on our own personal gifts, are something that we can work together on. And then lastly, I do want you to encourage you, if you haven't already watched it, at some point, President Obama's eulogy of Reverend Clementa Pinckney, when he talks about grace and how removing that flag was an act of grace. And I just want to wish grace on everybody here today. It's not something that we work for or that we deserve or that is earned. It's just something that's given freely. And I thank you, and amen.
Thank you, Eliza. That was wonderful. And I didn't know her name, but I did remember the moment. And so thank you for that moment of silence for the 9 who died tragically and unfortunately in South Carolina, worshiping as that. All right. So we have a couple of presentations today. One we're going to do at the beginning, and then we'll have some committee reports, and then we'll do our second presentation. So our first presentation is with Jade. Jade, I don't see you. I thought I saw you on the screen before. There she is. Okay, this is with Jade Wilson. Jade, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us about your background and your expertise. So please take it away.
Jay,
You're
you're
on mute.
Okay, let's start over. How you guys doing? Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here. Thank you so much, Evelyn, for inviting me. I really want to learn so much I can about NAACP and however I could be of service to the committee as a whole is definitely a desire of mine. All right. So just to give you a little background about me, I wanted to kind of send over my bio. Am I able to share my screen? Can I share it now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All righty. Are you guys able to see it?
no,
All right. Can you see
there
it
we
now?
are.
All right.
Yep,
Perfect. So just a little bit about myself. I put my bio up there so you guys can kind of read along, but I'm just going to give you a rough overview. About me, my name is Jade Wilson. I've been in the financial industry for over 18 years. It really is a desire of mine for financial wellness as a whole. I think a lot of times we don't understand what that means in each category. So being able to have a person there that can kind of break it down for you, whatever situation you may in, whatever season you're in, I feel like it's always a blessing. So you guys can just take a little bit of time and kind of read over my bio just to kind of know a little bit more about me. To just give you a couple little fun facts. I am a Bowie State graduate. I do have 3 kids and an amazing husband. Thank God I was blessed with these childish looks because I'm definitely 41. So I'm grateful. Just for my background, my history, and for God's grace. So just so you guys can read through my bio, I'm going to go ahead and change it over to give you a little bit about New American Funding as a whole, and then I'm going to give you a little bit about me as a loan officer. So, sorry here, kind of skipped a couple pages. All right, so just to give you guys a little bit about our mission for New American Funding, we are one of the top minority-owned mortgage lenders in the nation. We're actually headquarters in Los Angeles, California, but we are one of the top lenders. We have a branch pretty much in every state. Right now, I'm in Maryland, so our branches are at the National Harbor, Annapolis, and Waldorf. Our focus is lending in general, but we have a special focus and a committee that's focused on Black and minority lending. We understand that the situation is not always fair. So understanding that part, it gives us the advantage to figure out how can we better serve our community? How can I better serve people who look like me, who even don't look like me, to just understand the whole roundness of us working together as a community and how far we can go. Okay, let me just give you this. I'm gonna go over here to the next page. Do I have any questions or anything while I'm kind of going through it? Okay. Bear with me. I'm normally used to public speaking with the audience in front of me. So being kind of here over the Zoom is not as personable as I like to be, but work with me. And I'm trying to make sure I answer any questions you have and attend to any needs you may have during my presentation. Just to get an idea during the home buying journey, with American Funding, a lot of times our minorities have a barrier. And those normally fall between credit history, collateral, incomplete credit applications, insufficient cash down payments, and so on like that. So sometimes not having enough knowledge of where you need to be and what you need to have in the home buying process can kind of delay us. So we always want to make sure in meeting our clients or whoever they may be as far as family or foe, we want to educate them on the background and the knowledge of the home buying process. Because it's different things that are tie into your home buying process based on your need, because everybody's situation is very much different. Okay. Just so you can get an idea of the statistics here, 41% of Black home buyers' primary reason for purchasing a home is to desire to own their own home. The desire for change for us, 50% of our Black home buyers were previous renters. And single Black women, 31% of our Black home buyers are single Black females. I don't know about that, if you guys, that's exciting, but you know, I'm all for woman power, you know. Whoa, 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 whoa. I wanted to give you guys an overall idea of the products. A lot of times people are not aware of our products that we have, or how they differentiate between the two. Most of our products, you'll even have 4 products. It will either be a conventional loan, a USDA loan, a FHA, or a VA loan. Just to give you a breakdown on how that works, conventional loans are for anyone who has a 680 credit score or higher. Anyone that has a 680 or lower, but higher than a 580 would definitely qualify for our FHA programs. And then of course, if you're a veteran, we have all types of programs for our VA loans. Even if you're looking to do jumbo loans, we have non-agency loans as well. Okay. I want to kind of click this down a little bit. I don't want to read script for script. I kind of want to kind of go over a little bit, a highlight of some of our products, and then I'm going to go close this out. Also, we have NAV cash. NAV cash is a lot of times in this home market, we don't have a lot of, there's not a lot of homes available. And most people who are in their homes right now, they have the perfect rate of about 3% or 2%. And they're like, you know what, I'm not selling, I'm not moving, I have a great interest rate. So most times you'll get people who have cash offers and they'll outbid you, because we definitely are in a section where people get outbid. So we have the opportunity of allow our clients to have NAV cash loans, which allow you to put down cash buying, and we actually put down the cash for you. So I can go in a little bit more detail about that, but just to get an idea, if you're looking to buy a home and you're saying, hey, I'm keep getting outbidded by cash buyers, we have a program for that. We also have a credit program that's called UCrawl that helps you build your credit up to get it to a higher score in order for you to be able to apply for the different products we have. We also have the 5-year rate protection program, which means that if you do a refinance with us within that 5-year program, and let's say the rates drop dramatically in that time, we will reprocess your loan for you and cut the fees that have to associate with that. Okay. I'm going to pull my screen back up so you guys can see me. All right. All righty, guys. But just to give you guys a general idea, I am a believer of planting seeds and letting them harvest. I am really dedicated to the African-American community and building wealth. I think a lot of times people don't understand the wealth that comes with home ownership and how you can pay for college or, you know, pay to buy another home or be able to refinance to get a certain amount of money out to pay off this debt or that debt in order to have a full view of financial wellness. And a lot of times we don't know all the options that are available to us to know how can I take care of this or how can I pay for my daughter's college in the first year. Just to give you an idea, if you had a property and let's say you had equity in that property and your child was going off to their first year of college, it would be a great opportunity for you to refinance their loan in order to take cash money out of the home in order to pay for their college tuition without having to get student loans. Because these days, student loans will follow you for years and years, and it definitely counts against you. So being able to allow that opportunity to build wealth without building debt is always our goal. So making sure that you have the right lender and the right realtor in place in order to achieve those goals is key. Do I have any questions? I don't want to talk too much. No question, okay. So understanding that, also to give you another example, let's say, hey, I've been in my home for a while and I'm looking to pay down some debt. That would be a great conversation to say, okay, well, how can we pay down this debt? How can I get you to a financial wellness point that you're comfortable with? Also, if you're looking to purchase, right now we're in a market where people are looking to 203K loans and to refinance land. We definitely have a lot of those opportunities available to discuss with our home ownership programs.
Jade, there is a question from
Sure.
Erica.
Hello. Thank you so much, Jay, for the presentation.
No problem. honey.
Truly appreciate the information. I have a question in reference to your experience. Like, have you seen, because Northern Virginia, of course, is pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And have you seen where these programs that you're mentioning has helped individuals? Because a lot of times people don't have, 10,000 on hand and the
Right.
20,000. Is that program you just mentioned a program that would help individuals who want to become homeowners in Northern Virginia pretty good as far as assisting them with the cash, because they make money, right? They make a certain amount of money and they're comfortable, but it's that lump sum or that 3% or so that you need to come to the table with.
Right. So in this situation, we would look for a DPA program, which is a down payment assistance. In Northern Virginia, they have the NAACP, which is the down payment assistance program, which will either cover your closing costs or your down payment. I always say, let the down payment program cover your closing costs, because your closing costs will be between 5 to 6%. Versus your down payment, it will be for FHA loan only 3.5%, or for a conventional only 3%. So they definitely have programs out there that are available for you that are grant programs. VHDA loan is a grant program that's forgivable after a certain amount of years of on-time payments. So then you don't have to worry about paying that loan back. It could be erased from that history. So that's free money given to you and available for you to purchase your home.
I do have one more question.
Sure.
Individuals that may be married and or single, but in your experience, have you seen in the Northern Virginia area, individuals who are single be able to afford more homes in Northern Virginia?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I definitely have. Like I said, we mentioned we are one majority, about 31 to 34% are women home buyers that are single. So it's definitely possible way. It's so many different programs out there. Again, this information is not volunteered, okay? No industry volunteers to give away money. So you kind of got to research it. We got to pull it out to kind of see which program will work best for you in order to achieve your goal. So it's definitely possible. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Erica. No problem. Thank you. Did I have any other questions?
So there was a comment or question in the chat about the any bias in appraisal process. Have you seen that?
Yes, yeah, you do have that issue sometime. However, we do have an appraisal company that we work with called American Shield, and they're absolutely amazing. They focus on the same goal that we focus on, which is diversity. And we've never had that issue where there is a discrimination for an appraisal amount, or they're lowering the house value lower than what it needs to be. We really take pride in the companies we use to do our third-party systems. And so that's a big area for us.
And then I see there's another question from Ken.
I think that's the.
Yes, how you doing this evening?
Hi, Ken.
Um,
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I used to be a loan officer back in the late 80s when the savings and loans collapsed, and I was instrumental in getting one of the people that was giving out loans without getting them appraisals to send them to jail in Baltimore. Um, Living here in Fairfax County, I noticed that there are a lot of people of color who cannot get in to the appraisal factor. Think of like in Arlington, what they did when Amazon moved in. The real estate agents were going out and buying the property so that they can raise it up because they knew they could get that high percentage loan or a high percentage cost. So they were buying out from homeowners who wanted to leave, you know. And so we always had a problem with that. But historically, there's always been a bias for people of color to get appraisals and a fair appraisal for their property. They're usually under appraised as cheaper than the house, the value of the house or the property is in the state of Virginia. And sometimes, you know, what some of the committees that I sit on for the board for the Fairfax County, we find out that there's also when they zone the property, you know, single family homes is a bad market for the growing for 1.2 million people in the county. So, and we noticed that a lot of teachers, firefighters, police officers don't live in the county because they can't afford to live here. What can we do about those things? Thank you.
I think it's again very important who your appraiser is, and that starts with the mortgage company you decide to work with. The mortgage company you decide to work with kind of governs how your loan and the loan process will go. It also will govern who your contractors are that are servicing you. So making sure that you pick the right lender, making sure that you pick the right agent is important because they kind of govern your loan process. They can leave things out, or they can give you as much knowledge as possible to make sure that you make the right decision for you. I know for fact for our appraisal company, we've worked with them. I've been with New American for 5 years now, and we use the same company. And the same company has several different agents. We get a breakdown of who that agent is going to be when they come out to do your appraisal and ratings on them. So that's a conversation that me and you will have. Me and my client will have to kind of go over to say, okay, well, you're going to go ahead and get your appraisal done. Let me give you an idea of this person and who's going to be coming to your home, just so you feel comfortable. And if it's ever an appointment when you don't feel comfortable, you will reach out to me so that we can go and have a more detailed conversation of the facts, because we want to make sure that we get your appraisal and the value of your home for what it's worth compared to any other house that's in your area. So that's a big area for us, and that's how we kind of micromanage that system.
So there was a question from Evelyn about do you help people with budgets so that they are able to afford the loan? I mean, you mentioned the 2 and 3%, which of course is lower than 20%, but it's still 2 or 3%.
Yes, I actually do financial planning. My background is financial planning. I've been in the financial industry since I got out of college. And I worked in the banking industry, the financial planning industry, the budgeting. So I will give you a plan. If we come to a situation where it's like, okay, you know what, this is my goal and this is where I would like to be, then I kind of design a plan for you for us to reach that goal, because everyone's situation is completely different. So you want to act according to your season and your goals. So we make that plan together and we work hand in hand together to complete that. And sometimes that requires for a budget tool. And I will provide you with a budget tool to kind of understand all your monthly expenses, where we can kind of eliminate some monthly expenses, how we can kind of save you some money, and where can we get some free cash from as well. So I'll definitely make sure I do that based on your situation, if that's something that's needed. Absolutely.
Make sure you put your contact information in.
Absolutely.
Just for everybody else, not for me.
Okay.
There's a question from Dee Dee.
Yes, I'm a real estate agent, and when I work with my clients, I go from A to Z as far as the home buying and home selling process. I let them know what the stages are, how the process works. I also tell them, do not buy anything if they're trying to buy a home. Do not buy anything because once you buy something, you may not be qualified for that home anymore. So that's one of the things that I think that people need to be aware of is don't go buy furniture, a car, and all this other high item stuff. Because even though you've gone through the home buying process the first time, they're going to go back again the second time around before you actually buy the home, before you even get into the home. So everyone be aware that if you are going to buy a home, don't buy anything until after you actually physically sign the papers and get the key.
Yes, after you go to closing, and you will see, if you ever got an email from me, I have a list of things of don't do. Don't purchase a car, don't do any large Zelle or Cash App payments. I go through a breakdown of the list of what not to do to ensure that your loan process goes smoothly. Because the worst thing to expect is to be buying such a large purchase, and then you go through all these obstacles. So in order for the process to go smoothly, I will give you a breakdown ahead of time to say, hey, these are the things that I need you to stay away from, and these are the things that I need us to focus on, at least for the next 30 days. My loan process can go from 30 days or 14 days. I've had closings that go as quickly as 14 days, and I'm very strict on, I'll go through your bank statement with you because that's what the underwriter is going to do to make sure they're not going to pick up any red flags. I recently went through an underwriting class because I think it's important to know what the underwriters know. They are the people who are going to sign off on your loan. And so that in order to make your process smooth, I need to know how they think. And once I know how they think, I can make sure I position you in the right way to make sure that we can get your home and your goal completed.
This is Dee Dee again. And also there's a difference between pre-qualification and pre-approval process too.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
everybody needs to know the difference between the two.
Absolutely, but I'm gonna just let you know, for me, how I process things. I don't do any pre-qualifications. I do a full pre-approval. That means I would need your most recent 30-day bank statements. I need your most recent taxes. I need all your information up front because I want to make sure that your process is going to go smoothly. A pre-qual kind of gives you a glimpse picture of what it could be. I don't like to do on chances like that. I want a factual information. So I'm going to ask for all your information up front, and then I'm going to let you know, okay, these are our options, and then give you the opportunity to pick which way you want to go. Do I have any more questions?
These are great questions. I think there's a comment about from Mary Ann. I read about discrimination by USDA towards Black farmers in the loan process. Is NAF at all involved in helping Black farmers around the country get farm loans?
Yes, so USDA does have small programs that do assist with that. Again, what is helpful in situations like that is your realtor. It's really you picking a really good realtor to ensure that they're looking at the location, the area, and just the general facts to know what you're getting into. When it comes to my process, as far as the loan, we're going to make sure that it's definitely USDA territory. We're going to make sure that it appraised for the value that it actually is, and make sure that it goes smoothly as far as the loan.
I don't see any other questions.
I hate to ask you, do you all do rural loans too?
Rural loans will be a
Yes.
USDA loan. That would be a USDA loan, and that covers all rural property. And for USDA loans, you don't have to worry about a down payment. So they're actually really good programs. And surprisingly, it's a lot of USDA property that people aren't aware of that's listed as USDA.
Did you say no down payment?
No down payment for USDA loans.
And also, do you do VA loans?
Absolutely. I'm actually licensed, certified for VA certified loans. Yep, absolutely. That's actually one of my favorite loans.
All right, any other questions? the comment from Diana. Diana, this is vital information. Thank you for the gift of knowledge and guidance for all, especially first-time minority homeowners. Definitely. Diana, not just first-time homeowners, you mentioned refinancing, and I know I have a college
Refinance,
student,
purchase, yes, college
so
student, because that's the point of home ownership. It's a wealth product. You know, when you think, of course, buying a home, you think, okay, I want to build my home up. I want to make it my home. But at the same time, I want my home to work for me because it's my investment. I've put my last pennies to make sure this investment works. So how do we make this investment work for me all around, you know, and that's based on whatever your circumstances that at that point. I had mentioned on Saturday, just to give an idea, I had a client who during the pandemic, she was laid off. And being laid off, she was kind of scrambling for money and so on. And I had helped her purchase her home. I said, okay, well, this is I think we should do. Let's see how much equity is in your home. Once we found out what the equity was in her home, we did a refinance in order for her to stay home because she had a child that was asthmatic and wasn't able to attend school at least the next 6 months or so. So how can we make you financially stable so you don't have to worry about anything and still be able to tend to your child? So we refinanced her home. We pulled out enough money for her to be able to pay her rent. Pay her mortgage back, pay her other bills, and still have a little bit of money available to her. So therefore, she became her own bank. She became her own lending assistant. She didn't have to go out and get a loan from someone or anything like that. She made the current circumstances that she was in and made it work for her based on her situation. And that's what we focus on. We focus on how can we financially put you in a place so you're financially well. Of course, we all want wealth, but having a wellness behind it to make sure everything's flowing correctly is very important. Very important.
thanks, that's a great story. Any other questions? Well, Jade, this has been great. You are welcome back anytime. This is good information, whether you're a first-time home buyer or not. So, and Jade's going to stay for the rest of the meeting. So if anyone has any questions, and Jade, don't forget to put your contact information in
I'll
the
go to
chat.
Sage.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to do that right now.
Thank
You
you.
guys for having me.
All right. I forgot to adopt our agenda. So let's do that now. As you can see, we've had our call to order, our prayer and inspiration on a special presentation on home loans. Are there any other things that we need to add to the agenda? If not, hearing none, I will accept the agenda on general consent and move on to our secretary's report with Mike O'Brien. Mike, I saw you. No, you're
Hello,
there.
everyone. Hello, everyone. It's good to see everyone. I had to miss last meeting, so I have to thank Jenny Igo, our membership committee chair, for taking minutes for me. Those minutes were supplied through the announcements for this meeting. So I would like to see if we can pass those under general consent unless there are any concerns or objections to them. Are there any concerns? Seeing and hearing none, I would then have them passed under general consent. Thank you. I also want to just mention quickly, we are in the middle of a membership drive, which ends at the end of this month. So we only have a few more days and we're getting close to our goals. So if anyone has anybody who's on the fence, or if you haven't renewed your membership or need to check on that, I'm happy to help you with that. And we'd like to get as many members as we can in by the end of the month. And that's it for me, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Secretary O'Brien? I think we still have the those of you who were not here for a couple months ago when we did the advocacy agenda. You can still use this QR code to pull that up. And it's also on our website. All right, here are no questions for Secretary O'Brien. We'll move on to our treasurer's report and our Freedom Fund Committee report. Erica, Monique.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We pretty much for the treasurer's report, we are in good standing with our operations account as well as our youth council account. And the most that has actually changed since the last time right now is that we have had 2 overpayments that have come in for 2 of our members. So 2 of those things have come in the amount of $11.90 for 2 members. As mentioned prior, we are up to date with our state assessment fees. So we're in good standing and in compliance there. And as far as our PayPal account is concerned, we've had fluctuation within that account. Money in so far has been, this month has been $144.91, and money out has been $1,188. Other than that, our accounts are in good standing. Over.
Do you want to say anything about Freedom Fund at this time?
Oh, let me see. Is Monique on? Okay, so with Freedom Fund, what I will do for Freedom Fund.
Erica, you cut off if you're talking.
Oh, I apologize. We are currently, as you all know, we had launched the Goody Popcorn fundraiser. And so we'll have an update on that by our next meeting. The other thing is that we're currently discussing our next event, and we're hoping to be able to provide you guys with some detailed information on what our next event will be. We do have some plans that we'd like to put together for August, as well as checking in with some venues on prices for August event. We may shift from the big event itself. And so in order to keep you guys abreast, we will have more details on how we will move forward with any events, whether it be some themes we may come up with and get your assistance on that, some ideas for themes in order to hold a fundraising event. It may not be the same as last year's event. And so we're hoping to bring something new to the next event. In the meantime, we do plan to have several fundraisers on top of Goodies Popcorn that we will consistently have, because we seem to have a liking unto the popcorn, and also other activities that you guys may provide to us that you may want to see us do. So things are in the making, and we hope to have some updates within the next couple of weeks on any venue choices and selections for our next event, which will be between August and September. Over.
Thank you. Any questions for the Treasurer's report or Freedom Fund Committee? Diana?
Yeah, Erica and Monique had told me, because I'm on with you guys, that today I did let the folks know, because we were going to do what we did last year at the same venue, that we will not be needing their services. Monique asked me to do that, and I assume that's correct, right? We are not formally not doing what we did last year. We are not renting for a banquet room, correct?
Yes, Monique, if she shared that with you, that is correct.
Perfect. I thought so. I just wanted to touch base since we were talking about it. No, I did that. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Diana.
Any other questions for our Freedom Fund Committee? Okay. Erica, I'm getting ready to say over like you. All right, over. All right, moving on. Dinah, did you have another question or you just didn't lower your hand? Okay, I see it now. So next up is our Political Action Committee Chair, Karen Camlin, who will introduce our next guest speaker. Karen?
Thank you, President Lee. Hi, everyone. Hold on one second. I am very excited to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Andrea Miller, who is the founding board member for Center for Common Ground. Many of us on here know Andrea from many different hats that she wears, whether it's training, phone banking, texting, analysis, rides to the poll, whether you're in Virginia, Georgia, Wisconsin, on the Hill, in Richmond, Andrea's everywhere. So I'm very happy that she was able to squeeze us in tonight. And she's going to give us a really wonderful recap of the primary election that we just went through. This year was a little bit convoluted just because the Republicans, particularly in Fairfax, chose to have their primary through a caucus, and then the Democratic primary, it turned out to be, was June 20th. So there are a lot of trends and forecasts that we need to look out for. There were some really startling results here in Fairfax, such as in the Democratic primary, such as Senators George Parker and Chad Peterson losing their seat and having new candidates that will be appearing on your ballot in November. But just a quick recap of what the Political Action Committee did. We worked with the Education Committee, Communications Committee, the Women in NAACP Committee, as well as the Education Young Adult Committee, to put on several candidate-based and informational events. We had school board candidate forums. We held those forums after the Republican caucus. So we had only those who were still seeking nomination. And we had that for those that had actual more than one candidate. So that was our at-large, Hunter Mill, and Mount Vernon. All of the other districts, there was only one candidate, so we did not have that. And then we also were partnered with Reston Strong and Reston Patch, and we had a candidate forum for House District 7, which is in the Reston area. That was a very competitive race to replace the retiring Delegate Ken Plum. And then we had an in-person meet and greet at the Chantilly Baptist Church, where we invited everyone from both the Democratic and the Republican side. And this was an opportunity for everybody to kind of have a face-to-face. We wanted a different thing since we've been doing Zoom this whole time, give everybody an opportunity to meet face-to-face. And that was just an informal meet and greet. We will be doing more of these things coming moving towards November 20th, not November 20th, the general election in November, which are going to be candidate forums and all of those things. And we're going to be using tools that I mentioned that Andrea is doing with phone banks, working with the Northern Virginia Democracy Center, texting, and all of those things. So if you want to be a part of this, please, my email is on the screen, reach out to me. But without further ado, I'd like to hand the mic over to Ms. Andrea Miller, and thank you so much for joining us here today.
Well, thank you so very much, Karen, for inviting me. What I'm going to do is I live on my computer, and I have literally spent a week in heavy duty analysis, and I'm still working on it because I'm going to need to come up with, these are the races where we're going to be working for Center for Common Ground, for the National Women's Political Caucus, and then also for our out-of-state partners who come in. Some will want to work on the C4 side with National Women's Political Caucus, and then others will want to work on the C3 side. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. I'm going to be going through this fairly quickly, and I'm going to try to keep it light and funny. And I want you to get a picture of what Virginia looks like in 2023. We had a very good primary. And for NWPC, 4 of 15 candidates, and we only endorse women. So, sorry, that would be 11 of 15 candidates won. We had 4 candidates lose, 11 won. So I'm going to share my screen, take you to one of my favorite places on earth. Who doesn't love Veep app? I love getting lost on Veep app. All right, so I'm going to concentrate primarily on our Democratic primaries, just to give you a feel for what happened in the state. Big surprise with this race. Luke Pretty was the LA of Senator Edwards, and she got in the race late and won. Now, as you can see, these numbers are not really big. They're bigger in a lot of places than they were in 2021. But this is the primary, and we don't get a huge turnout in primaries. For us, this was in some ways a heartbreaker, but Senator Deeds will be coming back, so that is a good thing. We've got to look at District 12. Virginia's craziest Republican, Trump in heels, got defeated. So now we've got Glenn Sturtevant. So that's going to be an interesting race to watch. Probably the most infamous or famous, depending upon how you're looking at it, race in all of Virginia was Senate District 13. Cherise Aird and Joe Morrissey, Virginia's favorite. Pick whatever you want, and he's it. As you can see, it was a resounding victory. Cherise raised the greatest amount of money of any candidate in the primary. Gentleman Joe has retired from politics. This is Jennifer McClellan's old seat. So Delegate Bagby traded up for the Senate. This was a very interesting race. All the smart money was on Lionel Spruill. This was a huge race for us. Our Democracy Center is in Virginia Beach. They laid down something like 26,000 phone calls for Louise. We texted, we sent postcards, and they knocked on doors every day for an hour before they went back to work on phones, and they were at the precincts on election day. This one wasn't really a surprise. Oh, we're kind of glad to see that one. Almost in your neck of the woods in Fredericksburg, Tara Durant has moved to kind of a different, well, actually, no, this is Tara Durant's district. This is Josh Cole's House district. So Senate District 27, Tara traded up from House to Senate. So we're going to put these two races together. Elizabeth Guzman came really, really close, 60 votes. So that was a very, very fascinating race. We've got a race in Loudoun, and our Loudoun County race is just looking at what goes on in Loudoun County. We're going to be watching those very closely. Prince William, Fairfax, Jennifer Carroll Foy. I don't think anybody was surprised by that one. Dave Marsden beat our endorsed candidate Heidi. However, Stella Pikarsky beat George Barker. Smart money was split on that race. And this is one that nobody seemed to see coming. Saddam Aslan Salim beat Chap Peterson, and it was a solid win. And nobody was surprised by this. Barbara Favola. So we've got a couple of Senate races that are going to be very, very competitive. And we're going to hope that our Fairfax County folks are all in. There are a couple of races where I call them, where I basically say dead or alive. People who won the primary are going to win the general just because of the seat. So Louise Lucas and LaCherice aired on the Senate side, probably Dave Marsden up in Northern Virginia. On the House side, Adele McClure. So she got 90% of the vote. Part of that was her candidate, her opponent dropped out. Probably if he didn't drop out, she would have gotten 85% of the vote. In Fairfax, Karen Keys Gamara, we will probably come in on that race. Just make sure, because it's on the western side of Fairfax. We're going to work that one. We will be putting in effort on 19 and 15. Again, we're always watching Loudoun County. This is Sally Hudson's seat. That one, again, probably notwithstanding death, Katrina is going to take that seat. This is a really interesting one out in 55. And we were delighted with getting down into the Richmond area, Susanna Gibson. This is another race out in Richmond where, again, Ray has got this because she's going to win. This is Lamont Bagby's old seat. Destiny got in late, but she won. Probably 98% chance, even if we don't help, she's going to win. Dolores McQuinn is going to win her seat. Here was a big surprise. Kimberly Pope Adams, all the smart money was on Victor McKenzie. He was the candidate that had the money. He was the candidate that started early. We paired Kimberly Pope Adams up with LaCherice. Every postcard, phone call, text message that we did on behalf of LaCherice, Kimberly was in that script. And we were delighted to see that she was able to pull it out. The Hampton Roads side of Virginia is really where we lost the most seats in the House. So that means we're going to be working very hard on this House District 84, Nadarius Clark. We're going to be watching very carefully House District 92 because it is in Hampton Roads. We're going to be watching Alex Askew, again, that is Virginia Beach, and Delegate Kelly Converse Fowler did finally win her contest in Virginia Beach. Now I'm going to switch to a screen, and not that one, and only spend about 5 minutes on it, because if you don't live in this world, it would make you dizzy. Now I'm just going to talk about the colors. Everything that's yellow, they've got this. We're not worried about this. We are focused right now on races that are green, and this is the Virginia Senate. Clint Jenkins is running in an open seat. He's trading up from House to Senate. Trudy Berry, I'm looking at that race because it's 30% Black in a semi-rural district. So I'm going, all right, let me take a look at that. I've got to go back and look at that race again. Aaron Rouse has been the incumbent since January. So I've got to kind of pay attention to that one as well. Joel Griffin, we already talked about that. That is Fredericksburg. That's actually Spotsy, Fredericksburg, and then going into Stafford. The big surprise here down in Roanoke, Central Virginia, and a bunch of races where they should have this. We are probably coming in on Stella's race. I didn't color that green yet. And I am not going to take you through the house. You will fall over because there's 100 seats. It was bad enough trying to take you through 40. So this is how I'm spending my days and my nights analyzing numbers. Then I'm going to overlay money. Then I'm going to look at where they got the money. And then by this weekend, we will have our top tier, middle tier, and we'll go out to the partners who's coming in where. We are working on, we don't have a date. We are working on a conversation between Representative Nikema Williams out of Georgia and our own Jennifer McClellan. We have invited Georgia to stand up for Virginia. So we are currently working on who's going to moderate the conversation between those two women. In the mix, Stacey Abrams, Reverend William Barber, and today I threw in Keith Ellison. So it remains to be seen who we're going to get to moderate that conversation. That is going to be a fundraiser for Center for Common Ground, because we're going to be working for in a lot of counties this year. And the really, really, really scary, sad part is the federal primaries in Virginia are in March of 2024. So that means my team, we're going to go all the way to November. We don't really get to take a break because we plan about 90 days before we get ready to launch into the primary, and Virginia's got 45 days of early voting. So most of us have been working nonstop since November 2022 because Georgia ran long. We did the Georgia runoffs, and then Virginia had firehouse primaries and special elections, which spawned new primaries, which spawned new special elections. And people asked us to do Wisconsin Supreme Court. So we did Wisconsin. So by the time we got to the June primaries, we had done 6 elections. So no rest for the weary. All right, any questions? And we're recording this, so hopefully it won't, I didn't give you too much of a headache. All right, yes. Well, I don't, oh, Dee Dee.
Yes. I'm in the 30s. Hi, I'm in the 37th district, and I think most people in this district knew Chap Peterson's days were done. It was numbered. It was just, he'd been in long enough. And then my other question is, for seats that where Republicans are running, are we running in any Democrats in those races at all?
Well, there's a yes and a no to that. We're running Democrats who have never run before, who have absolutely no money and have no training and no clue as to what they're doing. So yeah, we are, and no, we aren't at the same time. I mean, one of the things that's different about the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is when the Republicans allow someone to run under their banner, if it's for Virginia State House, they give them $100,000. If somebody runs under a Democratic banner in a district where we didn't have a candidate before, they pretty much don't get anything from the party. Everything's up to them. Mike.
Oh, hey, Andrea.
Hey.
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to see what your prognostication is about the Commonwealth attorney races. I know that, the two incumbents, both in Arlington and Fairfax, won their primary,
Yes.
race, but, with 55 and maybe 57%. So it was kind of tight, even with the primary. Do we have any sense of what that's going to mean for the general?
No, and that is just really, really tricky because, well, number one, very few people vote in a primary. So when someone wins a primary, that tells me they've kind of got some kind of a turnout strategy going. I mean, I run into so many people who are like, there was an election, they had no idea the election was going on. When we get to the general, most people are programmed for an election to be in November. They struggle with June. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And normally we generally do the House of Delegates. So I don't know. We've been asked to do the Henrico Commonwealth attorney because the Republicans have brought in a female candidate named Shannon. So we're going to have Shannon versus Shannon. Just like in Petersburg, in district, and the number is escaping me what that district number is. We've got Kim versus Kim, Kimberly Pope Adams versus Kimberly Taylor. So we may try to get one of our C4 partners to do that. Otherwise, yeah, we'll just have to make a point of saying Kimberly Pope Adams is the Democrat, Kimberly Taylor is the Republican.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
I have a quick question for you, Andrea. Would you
Yes.
mind just briefly telling the difference, because you would say your C3 and your C4 partners, can you just briefly, if that can be something that can be discussed really briefly, the difference?
Oh, yes, it can. Now, for a 501c3 organization, we have tax exempt status. And we also have the ability, when people donate to us, that they are able to get a tax deduction. The IRS is very, very clear about what we can and can't do. We can only do pure nonpartisan work. So when we are doing elections, and we're doing get out the vote, we either mention no candidates or we have to mention every candidate that there is. So that was why NWPC, as an endorsing 501c4 organization, was really made to order in the Virginia primaries, because when you have 2 or 3 Democrats running against each other, mentioning all of them by name doesn't help voters who may not have been following that closely about what they stand for. So our NWPC script was able to say, X candidate has been endorsed by National Women's Political Caucus of Virginia. Now there's a mouthful. And she, because we only endorse women, is a fighter for reproductive rights, trusting teachers in our educational system, and protecting voting rights. We could name a name. And on the C3 side, I have to name both names and hope that people heard that's the Democrat and the other one was the Republican. So that's the difference. Nick E. Yes, and
Hi.
it's a gift.
Hi, I have two questions. One, are there any fan favorites for the gubernatorial race for next year? Any rumblings about who should run or who has the best chance in running or who you all would want to run? That's the first question. And the second question is, with the primaries just ending, I'm in the new 19th, and there was a very spirited race, and it was kind of upset because it didn't go the way a lot of people thought it was going to go.
Right. Yeah.
Can you kind of touch on how does that happen, where someone can out fundraise, out campaign, do all the things that we seemingly think that they should do, but then it still comes up a little short? Like what could have possibly gone wrong in those scenarios? Thank you.
Number one, on the governor race, this will be really, really easy. Since that's 2 years away, and I'm focused on November, and then I'll focus on March. I'm not there yet. I've got no idea who's probably going to run. I mean, I've got my suspicions, and then I'd love to see. It kind of doesn't make sense, but I might like to see it. I go back and forth. I might like to see Abigail Spanberger run for governor. She's an indefatigable campaigner, like he who shall remain nameless. And old Republican men love her. She's the daughter-in-law they wish they had. I mean, it is insane watching her work a room with all these old Republican men where I'm like, I don't even want to be in this room. And, and they're all fawning over her. I don't get it. But hey, when you got it, you got it. Now, races and winning races. One of the things that I saw with a lot of our new candidates, Virginia has 45 days of early voting. Their GOT materials were talking about voting in November. That's wrong. You got 45 days. Get your voters out, vote them early. Number two, I grew up watching my uncles turn out the black vote in Chicago. Make sure your voters have a way to get to the polls. People have amazingly good intentions and all kinds of stuff happens. So some of that, when we're talking 57 votes, it's a combination of luck. It's a combination of you didn't get enough doors, or there just wasn't enough information to allow people to go and vote. One of the things we look at when we are turning out voters is, number one, we don't look at are they Democrats or Republicans, because it's legal for me to look at voters that way anyway. I can look at sex. I'm only turning out women, which is all I turned out in the primary, because abortion is on the ballot in Virginia. in case anybody missed that memo. Or the other thing I can look at is race. Because I know that in the Commonwealth of Virginia, 85% of my Black voters are going to vote D. And I also know that 88% of Hispanic voters are going to vote D. Now, what has totally been thrown off by Youngkin and his wokeness and don't trust your teachers and critical race theory is Asian voters now are voting to the right more than they used to. So that now is a big question mark. Which direction are they going to go? In 2021, I'm seeing Ken's comment. In 2021, when we lost the House, every seat that we lost, the Democratic candidate had 2 to 6 times the amount of money as the Republican who beat them. The reason for that was Youngkin had coattails. His voters turned out en masse, and they voted all the way down the ballot. Terry McAuliffe had reversed coattails. He's so pissed off Democrats, they at best stayed home or at worst believed Youngkin and went and voted for Youngkin. So elections are amazing things. You have your expectations, and every once in a while, you get a rude surprise. But I love them anyway. Sujata.
Hi, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. Hi, it's so nice to see you. It's just great, really great. I want to just say something interesting, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it actually. In the new 19th, in the race that Nikki brought up, there were a lot of local things, you know, things that happen, like local dynamics that happen in that particular race. But one, and that's for a different day, different time. A lot of stuff happened at the last minute with turning out the vote for the man who won by these, who was not expected to win by this small number of votes. But one thing that he did that the favorite didn't do, he had a sample ballot printed.
Yes.
It was on blue paper.
Yes.
And it was being handed out by people who are wearing the party t-shirt, which is contrary to the rules of the party, right? You're not supposed to be handing it out when you're wearing the party t-shirt. So when you're handing out a blue sample ballot to people who don't understand that in a primary, you don't have a sample ballot, and it's blue, and you're wearing the party t-shirt, that easily can be fixed.
It makes you look like the endorsed anointed candidate of the party.
Endorsed candidate, and that's easily 57 votes. So that happened in that race. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it happens. And sometimes people, do play dirty like that a little bit. And I'm not saying that it was the candidate. I really don't know whose idea that was, but that did happen in that race. And that can easily be 57 votes. So you can clean up in early voting. You can have done all the work, be the people's favorite, all that. And if you have the right people there who are turning out Republican vote, because we were open to, and some people did exactly that, turned out Republican vote to thwart this person because of local grievances that were happening for Bernie Democrats, and then wearing that t-shirt and handing out. It doesn't take much to get 57 votes,
Yes. Lionel Sproul did that to me in 2008, so I was really enjoying the payback.
So sample ballot is a brilliant thing, and I think it's a great tool. But when it's blue and you're wearing the party t-shirt,
right, that can confuse the uninitiated. Talking about interesting little tricks, there was a rumor started in Senate District 14 that the woman candidate, Katie Gooch, was a Republican plant. And the rumor was, well, she's so professional in the way she speaks. Look at her materials. Her materials are just so professional. She must be a Republican plant. No, she was a minister and very professional in everything that she did. But that rumor got passed around and passed around, and people were like, don't vote for her, don't vote for her. She's a Republican plant.
Thank you so much.
Yes, yes.
We have,
Politics can be dirty.
we have time, Andrea, this is fascinating. We have time for one more question.
I think they're good.
I have one teeny, if you,
Yes, you can.
if I know, right, we gotta get one more in. Maybe, Andrea, if you can do like a closeout, but also talk about, and I know you have a lot of different tools, but what are some of the tools that can be used moving towards November? We're now starting to transition to get out the vote. The messaging now changes. Now it's, we need you at the polls, because now it's the polls matter. And as you said, in some areas, it should be a done deal, but if we don't get the voters to the poll, it is not a done deal. So what are some of the things that we can do, particularly, and I know you've said so many times, like there's so many Black voters that are infrequent, possibly on the verge of being purged from the polls. And so getting folks to be active, to register, learn, and vote. What are some of the things that, tools that can be used between now and November for us to really hone in and do a really effective and efficient job on that?
Number one, identify all of your senior living and disability living facilities and make sure those folks are either permanent vote by mail, or they definitely have a way and a means to get to the polls, because most of those folks no longer drive based on senior living, disability living. Number two, volunteer with rideshare to vote. If your thing is, no, I can't be knocking on doors and I can't be doing this and that outside, but if you would be willing to drive people to the polls with rideshare to vote, then that is another service that would be available, making sure that people can get there. The other thing is, we run phone banks, and we have a marvelous phone banking system. It's branched. So when we ask people, what's your voting plan? Are you going to vote early? You're going to vote on election day? You're going to vote, when? We have scripts for every single county that gives them the phone number of their registrar. It tells them when they can early vote, where it is, when it's open. We just make sure voters are going to be able to vote. And we can get them rides to the polls with rideshare to vote. I may end up having to go back into the ride business because they only provide rides the Friday and the weekend before the election. The other thing that you can do is we do postcarding. We're launching postcarding on July 28th. And National Women's Political Caucus through Postcards for Voters will be launching postcards, and we do texting. So texting is wonderful and it's easy, and you do it from your home. Nobody is going to get your number with our phone banks or our text banks, because we buy phone numbers, and those are the numbers that people see. So many things. And if you come up with a new idea of what you'd like to do, and maybe nobody's ever done it before, that's great. Also, when we've got those races where it's Republican woman, Democratic woman, they're both women. We've got 2 Hispanic candidates, 2 Asian, 2 African Americans, and people are like, yeah, wait a minute, I'm getting a little confused as to who's who. those are probably going to be the races where you're going to want to have a big presence at the polls. And then you're going to be handing out sample ballots. So our Virginia Beach Democracy Center folks, they were at the polls. Election day, these are your voters. Everything up to election day are people who could be your voters. These are your real voters. And Mr. Sproul had people in 4 shifts handing out sample ballots in a primary. And they were just talking to people saying, well, you know, Louise Lucas is really fighting on voting rights and she's really fighting on reproductive rights, you know, just saying, and they're just like talking to people. And we were able to pull that race off. Oh, good. Yes, and I love that. And you want to get young people engaged and come out to vote. NWPC, we've got 12 young high school interns that we're bringing on. And we're starting with people in high school. We're making them voting ambassadors because, if you haven't noticed, we speak a different language utilizing a different methodology than young people do. So it's really, really important to bring young people in and then say, this is what we want to do. How would you go about it? Don't tell them what to do. Say, how would you go about solving this problem? And then they'll come back and say, well, we would do this, we would do this, and we would do this, and we would do this. And so we listen, and then we say, all right, you know, if we give you this tool with this help, and all the tools we give them are on their phone, because they don't really do email, they do text. So we have our relational organizing program where they can set up a text tree and they can text each other about stuff because they don't read their email. That's our generation, not theirs. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, college and high school programs, speakers at schools to share info. One of the things that we've created is a flip grid where we're asking young people to say why they're voting. And then as we get their videos, we then give them to the interns who then share them with their friends on social media. Sharing those videos with our friends does absolutely nothing, because as they will tell you, your friends are old. Why do they want to see that? They're going to share it with their own friends who go, oh, wow, you know, that person we think is really cool and they're going to vote. Well, I don't know, maybe I should vote. I was thinking voting wasn't cool, but you know, that person is cool and they're voting, so maybe I'm going to vote. Yeah, let them own it. Yes, and in 2.5 more years, our 18 to 24-year-olds surpass us baby boomers in terms of numbers of registered voters. Because we're dying off. This has been so much fun. Aaron, can I join the Fairfax branch?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'll even pay your membership. I'll pay the transfer fee. Whatever needs to happen, it'll happen.
I was going to offer that.
You folks are fun. I like you.
Andrea, you're welcome anytime.
Oh, marvelous. So whenever you want to hear and like I said, I try to make them fun because I know I'm a numbers geek. This is how I'm looking at the world, and this is how we are going to win our rights back. So, I mean, ultimately, where am I going? I'm going for a constitutional amendment, making voting a right, because right now, voting is a privilege. If voting was a right, we could not do it and still remain registered. Voting is a privilege. It's an ability. And like any ability, if we don't use it, we lose it. That's got to change.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, this is outstanding. I have to give you a real clap. Real clap.
Oh,
Please come back
thank
anytime.
you. And I'm clapping for all of you. What a wonderful, wonderful audience. Absolutely adore you. And to our previous speaker, oh, I love what you were saying. It was so great. Yeah, see, I wasn't even sitting here fascinated by and I'm always that person that's just staring at the participants list. I was just totally engaged. And you know what? I actually now travel more than 40 miles from where I live. So you have in-person events, I may just show up. And I bring homemade ice cream when I show up. Just throwing that
Oh,
out
we're
there.
gonna hold you to that one then.
Just throwing that out there.
So President Lee, that is probably the best ice cream in the entire Eastern region.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna hold you to that one.
Well, I'll bring ice cream and pie. Those are my trademarks.
And unfortunately, I love them both.
And I'm lactose intolerant and don't like pie.
Oh, so we get to eat it all. Even better.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, we are moving on to our next topic. But like I said, Andrea, you are welcome back anytime. All right, I think our education committee chair has some packing to do, so we're gonna let her go first and then we'll finish up our committee reports.
Thank you so much, President Lita. I appreciate it. I have just a quick report. I really do promise, quick report. I wanted to let you know that they finally voted in Nardis King, who has been the interim chief equity officer since Lisa Williams left December of last year, or 2021. She left less than a year after she joined church. She had some family issues and she had to leave, and Nardis King stepped in as interim, and she's been in the interim position for quite a while, and she was just voted in as the chief equity officer yesterday at last night's meeting. Also, they voted in a new position, a new person, new to our division, named Giovanni Ponce or something. He's from Houston ISD. I know that we had a couple of people on this on our call who were part of that hiring panel. I was not part of that hiring panel, so I really don't know what he's like or anything about him. This position is to take the position of Frances Ivy, who's the deputy superintendent, who's been the deputy superintendent for quite a long time. She retired last night. She was feted last night at the school board meeting, and this new position will take over her position and has slightly different role. It's in charge of all of the regional area superintendents and therefore the principals. It is very much part of the leadership team and very much attached to Dr. Reed, who is the superintendent. So remains to be seen, but that's an interesting new reorg and a new person who's coming in. Also, another retirement was Fabio Zuluaga. Some of you may have had children in Region 2. He was the regional area superintendent for Region 2 for quite a while. He retired last night as well. The equity policy, which you may remember my talking about in meetings past, they've been working on it they've been talking about it for 4 years, and they've been working on it for a couple of months. It was a robust process with many, many people in the community, many of whom were, we're not pro-equity, we're enemies of the work, honestly, were invited by by the superintendent to join the meetings, these equity policy steering committee meetings. And so there were people who were on the side of equity, say the NAACP, SEPTA, those organizations were part of that. And also Moms for Liberty was part of it. Fairfax Parents Association was part of it. They are very much anti-equity, and they were part of that too. So you really couldn't even say that they weren't part of the process, which they did say yesterday when they made their public comment. Many of the enemies of the work did say that this was not a robust process. It did not include everybody, but in fact it did. And the policy, which you can find on board docs, I don't want to, I know they made some changes to the language, so I don't want to attach it here because it's finalized wording. They added a couple of things, nothing significant to the meeting, but it says very clearly who the people were who participated, and all of these names were listed there. So it passed. That's a great thing because it is a clear continuation of One Fairfax, which they put into place in 2017, and which really has had very little impact at all on hiring processes, obviously housing, all of the things we talk about, economic development. It has had a very little impact in the county. So as we've seen legal redress, education, we've seen all the time in the complaints that come to us, these changes have made no impact on our kids and our staff. So that's a segue. And so anyway, I'm hoping anyway that the equity policy, at least it's a framework to continue the work with more purpose. So you can always say it's in our policy, and that's always helpful. Update on Oakton Cheer. Many of you will remember there was that incident with the bad email that went out. They were supposed to have hired, I know they did actually hire somebody, an external law firm, to do an independent investigation, and that's all I've heard about it. I haven't heard any updates since then. So I can't even tell you what's going on, but that they did agree to do that per hour. We did make that recommendation, and Dr. Reed did take that recommendation, and they did put that into place, but I haven't heard any updates on that. A new problem I wanted to bring to your attention, you may have seen, and I will put into the chat before I leave this meeting, the Tyrone Barnes, who is a member of our branch and the band director at Annandale High School. There was a wrongful firing, a maligning of his character, a questioning of his credentials. It went on. It was a long-term hiring, bullying, abuse kind of situation. It seems there was an article that came out yesterday in WTOP. I was contacted by Leslie Houston. I don't know if Leslie is on this call now, but I was contacted by her. She's not on this call, but she is the president of the FEA, Fairfax Education. She's one of the association, one of the local unions. She called me to make sure that I saw the article, told me they had been working assiduously on that case for quite a while. It was really bad. It was a very bad situation. Dr. Reed actually did get involved, agreed that it was egregious, tried to do everything she could to get the man his job back. The community he was beloved by parents. Apparently, some parents had some complaints that he was saying some things like that he wanted there to be a certain standard, and if you didn't meet that standard, you would be in certain bands, and some parents didn't like that, so there were some beasts like that, which I think is why that principal may have had problems. I really don't know. Anyway, he has filed a complaint with us now, and I will be speaking with him in a couple of weeks. But Leslie Houston did contact me and tell me this is a pretty bad situation, and that it is endemic, like the situation with music. They're having a really hard time with band directors, music directors, Black band directors and music directors in the county. And so that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. And that is all. I just wanted to let you know in case you saw that, and I will put the article in the chat. That's all I got.
Thank you. Are there any questions for our Education Committee Chair? Yes, and I do want to say second, thank you on the equity work as well as the work to get some movement, hopeful movement on the Oakton Cheer situation.
I'll keep you guys posted. Thank
All
you.
right,
All right.
thank you. So moving back to our Economic Development Committee Chair. Nikki, are you still on? I no longer see Nikki. I saw her earlier. Okay. I know Mary isn't on for Housing Committee, but is there someone here representing Housing Committee? I think Mary mentioned that we're a couple people who will be joining.
Yes, Therese Chaplin.
Hi,
I have a-
Therese.
Hi, I have a couple talking points to bring up about what's going on with the Housing Committee.
Okay.
First is concerning the county's fair housing plan. We're reviewing the final version of the housing plan, and we're going to make comments to the Board of Supervisors before their meeting on July 11th. We want to state again to the board that the plan should evolve into a coordinated effort that will further fair housing through enforcement, education, increased affordable housing, changes in community planning, and more public transit. With the county becoming more segregated and housing prices and evictions on the rise, it's just very critical for the county to have a targeted, workable plan with measurable results. And so we'll be sending our comments to that effort. The second thing I want to talk about is that the county's heat relief program, and that was initiated after the NAACP requested action from the Board of Supervisors last summer. So this summer, the county has a heat relief program that's being piloted. The NAACP Housing Committee plans to monitor the 3 drop-in locations around the county over the summer to see how effective this heat relief program is for homeless people. Unfortunately, there's no additional space for overnight accommodations during heat waves, but there is a better communication system for getting people to daytime cooling centers in the works. And so we will make recommendations after when the summer ends on how to improve the program for next year. That's it.
Thank you so much, Teresa, and thank the Housing Committee for their work as well. Are there any questions for the Housing Committee? Didi, I see your hand raised.
Yes. My question is, why isn't affordable housing spread out through the entire community? As a matter of fact, I noticed they just opened up a new affordable housing down on Route 1. But that's so far out of the way. I'm wondering how come they haven't opened up any like in Fairfax or the Vienna area or some of the more expensive areas where people can live and be around transportation and food and all the other stuff. So if you can help me in that process, I'd be greatly trying to figure that out, because they keep building all these expensive homes, and they keep building all these expensive I guess, I don't know whether condominiums, as a matter of fact, down on Braddock Road, they're building these expensive apartments that, I guess, condos that I don't know who can afford it. That's a senior. So, why isn't the county looking in that direction?
Oh, great questions, Didi. I wish I had an answer for you, because we know that those are trends. There seems to be affordable housing is not equally distributed all over the county. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that. If there's any other housing committee members on the call that can answer Didi's question, I would appreciate it. Maybe Ken?
We have our planning commissioner, Evelyn Spain on.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That's a great question. And to answer, we have a goal to increase affordable housing in Fairfax overall. And as you see all of these new developments that are going on, there is coming within the next 3 years or 2 years, and totally affordable housing unit in Tyson's Corner. We're also making sure that, as an incentive to the builders, that they include affordable housing in all of these. I know they seem lovely, but when they build these luxury homes, they have to. Now, the problem is the AMI is still not low enough to accommodate as many affordable, make it as affordable to more people in the community. But they are building. Whenever you see these new buildings, it's an incentive that the county has given to the developers to bring in a percentage, 12% of the new development has to be affordable housing. So we are slowly getting there. And Fairfax County Board of Supervisors has increased the amount of affordable housing they're going to have in the next 10 years. So it's a slow process, and I agree with you. It needs improvement, but there are incentives out there. There are steps forward to increase the number of affordable housing for Fairfax County overall. In all of the areas, in Huntermale and Tyson's, I was totally shocked. This new housing that's in Tyson, it's beautiful, and it's totally 100% affordable. There'll be an affordable unit in the Fairfax County Government Center that's coming in the next couple of years. We just approved that plan. So there are plans. We're not where we should be, but we are getting there. Thank you that's a great question, though. Thank you.
Ken, you had a question?
No, not a question, a statement. I've been on a committee for affordable housing since 2006 as a former homeless person. I can tell you with absolute impunity, while the county has been doing a great deal in trying to get that dealt with, it's not nearly enough. I just went to the Democratic Party with all of the people who have run and placed their names in office. And I saw Jeff McKay. I talked to every single supervisor that was there and told them, I'm waiting for the new ones to get into their office to be settled. And I will be making an appointment to come in and stress to them that we have never meted our game. When we had the needs assessment in 2016, of which I was a member of, trying to get that assessment down, the major group of people who was disenfranchised with affordable housing, and get this, you're not going to believe this, but it's true. The statistics show that we're senior citizens. I myself am living in an assisted living place, and I can tell you with absolute impunity, I've been working since I was 10 years old and paying into Social Security at that age. 10 years old. And now the money that I put into Social Security, I'm living in a senior assisted living place, and I have only $66 a month to live off. They're taking every single dime of my Social Security. If you think that's fair, I don't. And I'm trying to get out of here. But the truth of the matter is that we still have a lot of teachers, firefighters, police officers who cannot afford to live in the county. And I think to myself, I say, wait a minute, let's think about this. Wouldn't it be better if at least the police officers actually lived in the community that they're policing? Do you know how much integrity that they would gain with being in those communities and living with the people that they probably will come in contact with if something goes amiss? But they can't, because they can't afford to live here. We have never reached, and I said this before, one of the biggest problems is our county has discriminated against people because they're only building single family homes. If you look at Indianapolis and other places that have adopted, they got these homes that are for 3, 4, or 5 families can live in these houses. When I go through Hunter Mill, I'm looking at these McMansions and I'm saying to myself, wow, if I wasn't born in the United States, I would swear this was England, where everybody else was building a castle, okay? Do you really, really need that much room where you have 18 bathrooms. Who has 18 bathrooms? I mean, wouldn't it be better if you had 18 rooms, and you could rent them out? But this is not what we have been doing. And until we realize that how strategically that it has been this with the single family zoning, with the planning commission, we will never, ever, ever achieve the goals that we need to do. And now we not only do we have senior citizens, but now we have kids who, I remember when we were trying to get the one Fairfax and for George Mason, when I testified before the Board of Supervisors. And we had kids who were actually sleeping in their cars because they couldn't even afford to rent a room or anything like that. So they were sleeping in their cars or in the library room. And I testified for that. So we actually got one university put together, but I remember all the people that fought against us, the people that we called NIMBY, that not in my backyard. But I was able to move a lot of them forward and say, hey, this is good for all of you. But if you are telling me that the problem we have is over traffic that's going to happen, which you are the ones who don't want to walk 5 miles in your neighborhood to take, to grocery shop, you're driving your car, you're part of the problem that you're addressing here. But this is where we are. We have to do better. And I'm sorry that I'm taking up your time, but as I told the people at the Democratic Party this past Sunday, I will be coming to you new supervisors, you new elected officials. I'm going to let you get settled into your office, and I'm going to lay down a game plan of what we are really dealing with so you are aware. And I expect you all, because I voted for most of you all, to make a change. If we don't do it now, we're forever lost. That's my 2 cents. And I'm going to claim that's my nickel. And I'm going to leave it up to someone else.
Thank you, Ken. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. You're probably preaching mostly to the choir, but yes, please let us know how that turns out. And you don't need to let them get settled. Many of them are running for re-election. They're already settled.
Yes. So yeah, I'm on AHAT, which some of you are on that. I know Mary Payton is, which is affordable housing, and I've been a member of the CAB, which is Community Action Advisory Board. So we advise the Board of Supervisors on the needs assessment for the entire county. I've been on that since 2008 or so. So we've got work to do, and I'm prepared to do that. Thank you.
Excellent. Therese, if that's the end of your report.
Yes, that's the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And just going to circle back to Vice President Camblin, who wanted to mention a new task force that she is representing Fairfax NAACP on. Karen?
Yes, thank you, President Lee. I just wanted to talk about a task force that was created for the Lake Akating Park. Our first meeting was on Monday, and we anticipate we're going to have bi-weekly meetings through the middle of December. It's being chaired by former Chairman Sharon Bulova, and I believe former Supervisor John Cook is serving as co-chair. The purpose of this task force, which Ms. Evelyn Spain is on as the representative from the Planning Commission, is so basically Lake Akating is a man-made lake. The park is a little bit over 400 acres, and the lake itself is about 55 acres. Typically, waterways need to be dredged. Sometimes sediment would kind of lay on the sides and on the bottom, such as suffocating wildlife, creating unsafe natural environments for the wildlife that rely on the lake for sustenance. And it also diminishes the lake capacity because one, if more sediment, less water can settle in there. So there is anticipated impacts if that lake is not dredged. However, staff recommended that it not be dredged. That is a very active park. It is a park that for some communities is the only true active open space and natural resources that they do have access to. And so one of the reasons why it was they were moving towards it is the lake has been dredged, I think, 3 or 4 times in the past, costing around 200 million. And so, but this one, they're anticipating that it'll cost about 395 million to the total cost to dredge and maintain Lake Accotink over the next 25 years is 395 million. So the lake is in both Braddock and Springfield, no, Braddock and Franconia, but majority of it is in Braddock. And I'm looking at Mary Ann, so if I say anything, please jump in and help. And if you see me, help me out here. And so Supervisor Walkinshaw did a board matter with the Board of Supervisors requesting a task force be formed where we can look at the staff recommendations and look at what those implications of whether it's dredged or not dredged, and maybe come up with some innovative approach in which the lake can be maintained where there won't be a decline in recreational activities and still be viable. And one of the words that was continually stressed during the meeting is sustainability, because they have noticed that the sediment is laying down heavier and heavier. And is this model that they have been following for the last few decades sustainable, but is there another way? They are community residents that do want it dredged. It's a very active space. Like I mentioned, they've got playgrounds, they've got a community center, a picnic center. So it is definitely used. It's not an unused space. So like I said, we'll be going to these meetings and then just making sure that equity is also centered. What that looks like, that is going to be a part of the discussion. And so there is a mission for the task force, and it's basically how best to preserve the Lake Accotink in the most sustainable, equitable, and cost-effective manner. And the task force was charged with 4 primary goals, which is to review and develop the findings. They do have a current consultant. Arcadis is the consultant. And then they're also going to be pulling in at some point an aquatic resource expert that is going to really give us some more deep dive information about what happens to a lake, whether or not it's dredged. And then, we're going to talk about the possible options. We're also going to, identify what those relevant information needs and questions that should be addressed to the board. And then also, is there, like I mentioned before, consider a hybrid option involving some area of open water? Do we look at a managed wetland option or those types of things? And what are the impacts if we do nothing, we dredge completely, or we do a hybrid? And then the task force findings should also consider the impact to the environment. What are the impacts to the surrounding community? Right, like I mentioned, recreational use of the park, and of course the financing and the sustainability. And then it was also highlighted that we really need to talk about, there is such a huge cultural significance that it brought to the park. How do we bring those stories from when it was centuries ago, and how do we make sure that there's a lot of historic resources, tribal, indigenous settlements, and things from the Civil War, things from, all of these different things from during slavery. So, how do we make sure that if we do come up with a plan for Lake Accotink, that we can sustain it, it considers all of our uses, and it's something that we can move forward with through perpetuity. So Miss Evelyn Spain. If I missed anything, please let me know.
No, Vice President Camblin, you did an excellent job. And I would just invite those of you who are unfamiliar, uh, Vice President Camblin and I are going back out there to just check it out and try to come up with ideas of how we can repurpose the lake. It's a beautiful park. And the equity is, do we want to spend all of this money on this one lake, millions and millions of dollars, or can we repurpose it and then spread the wealth throughout other areas in the county? But you are absolutely right. If anyone cares to see this beautiful work of nature, I invite you to go and take a look at Lake Akatink. And, if you have ideas, ways that we can make improvements, we welcome your comments and your feedback. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And the meetings are open to the public and they will be televised on Channel 16. Our next meeting is July 10th, beginning at 7 p.m. So if you have any comments or anything like that, please let us know and we'll be sure to make sure that it is part of the consideration and the conversation as we move forward.
Vice President Camblin, when is the date that I'm assuming you guys have to do some kind of report out? When is that due?
Well, so right now our schedule goes through December 18th. However, Supervisor Walkinshaw expressed that he does not want this to be a rush job. If it moves forward, if we need more time, we should take more time because he wants to make sure that the solutions are sustainable and the right things and community supported. But right now we do not have, right now we have the last day of the task force, just not when we would be reporting out to the board. That probably won't happen until January. I don't know. But our last meeting is the 18th of December.
Our last planned meeting, right? Ms.
Yeah, the
Cameron,
last.
it's just right now. And if we need to go further, we will. Yeah.
Mm.
And then
Yep, you're right.
last question. Do we have, did they provide you numbers, visitor numbers for the park?
The park. I want to say 250,000 per year.
And Marianne said that number is low. Is that number low compared to other parks or is just low period? Or Marianne, you're not sure.
Sorry, I think it's because they're, the way people come into the park, there's no accurate way to count the visitors. There are 2 parking lots, but there's no like formal, people don't go through any kind of ticker or any, so they're pretty sure that number's way low. But yeah, it's like bikers, walkers, joggers coming in from the trails through, I don't know how many different trails dump into the park. So that number might, I don't even know if that's maybe parking, I don't know, but it's low for sure.
That does seem low.
And when you go
Yeah.
visit, I would really recommend if, I'd love to join you when you do make a site visit, but I would definitely recommend going on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon so you can see just how intensely packed with community members from, every culture you can imagine. It's just the most wonderful, beautiful thing. So plan it on a weekend so you can really assess the impact of what this park means to community members. They did bring up, I listened to last night's recording of the meeting and I was really impressed by the expertise on the task force. So I think it's going to be in great hands. I feel really pleased about that. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to watching the meetings and I'm glad they're making it publicly available. Yeah, it's a thorny problem with angles from many, many sides, but
I'm glad that sounds like they're not going to rush to any kind of solution. And so, yeah, but keep me posted if you do plan a site visit. I would love to join you all.
As a matter of fact, we are planning one for this weekend, and I'm sure there'll be another one. So
Okay.
let us know if you'd like to join us on Saturday. I thought this would be, we thought this would be a great time. It's going to be a holiday, so it's going to be, you know, the
it'll be
picnic
lovely.
areas. Yeah. So yeah, please let us know if you want to hang out with us on Saturday. Love to have you.
All right, I'll give you my contact information. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions about the task force?
I
All
think Marianne gave us a really good question to ask, which is how did they come up with that number? And you're right, there's like people coming in from outside, but then there's so many people that are close enough to walk in and out that they're probably not even keeping track of that. But the agenda, they kind of have a draft agenda, you know, so maybe we'll try and see if we can get that as part of the conversation, where they're gonna, you know, they're gonna present what the staff, what the recommendations were for the staff, and hopefully we get you know, a report out on why they came up with it, you know, or at least a summary of it. And then they're going to talk about what are the importance of, you know, what are the impediments of dredging. They're going to give us an overview of the past dredging operations, and then give us examples of successful dredging operations that have techniques that have been used around the United States and overseas. And then I honestly think, you know, just talking about going into more detail about the park uses is warranted. So thanks for bringing that up.
Perfect. Thank you. You both for being on the task force and all the hard work you'll do. Okay. If there are no other questions, we don't have any other committee reports. Just going to ask the body if there are any new business or old business or anything that you did not hear tonight that you were expecting to hear. Hearing and seeing none. I have just a few comments and I'll keep them brief. One is we are still looking for an environmental and climate justice chair. Also, if you'd like to dig deep and Andrea Miller's report out on the primary interested you. Political Action Committee is looking for some leads, whether it's voter registration. If you'd like to co-chair the committee, please let us know. You can let Vice President Camblin know. And then we're also still looking for a health committee co-chair. So there's still a lot of work to do and committees that need your help. So if you are interested in any of those committees, please let us know. And then finally, the Freedom Fund event, we are actually going to combine that with our business meeting. So we were planning to meet in person. I think we're planning to meet in person in August. So we're going to make that a fun event, Freedom Fund event / business meeting. So stay tuned for the date for that. We are still looking for a facility, but we'll have that information out hopefully within the next couple of weeks. And that's all I have. And if there are no other questions, comments, report outs, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 9:05. Thank you, Marianne. Oh, I thought you were giving a motion. Can somebody provide a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you so much. And do I hear a second?
Second.
Excellent, excellent. So we are adjourning at 9:05. I'll keep the meeting room open for a few more minutes if anybody has anything else to say or wants to chat.
I
before the
just
evening.
joined.
I'm sorry?